What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined by my dad, Sean, and today reactions to the classics. We are continuing our Tom Waits discography journey that our patron, friend, and supporter of the channel, Josh, has been having us doing from month to month, one a month.
It's fun.
And we are up to Swordfish Trombones, a record that I know a lot of people in our previous reviews were saying, hey man, wait till you get to this record. And so album number 8, excited to dive in track by track on this one. So let's get to the quick facts and get rocking.
Yeah, released in 1983. First album he self-produced. No Bones Howe on this one. Went to 164 in the U.S., which for Tom at this point is actually pretty good. Got some real good critical acclaim, some 5 out of 5 stars from AllMusic and Q and Mojo. Number 2 by NME for 1983 albums, and in 1989, Spin named this album. Now, I mean, I don't. The second greatest album of all time. This is what Spin said,
man.
In 1989. I don't know, man. They might have had a little party at Spin when they were compiling this. I mean, this is a good album, but I mean, second of all time. Stylistic, different from his previous albums. It moves away from the piano and string orchestra arrangements of those late 70s, replacing with unusual instrumentation and a somewhat more abstract songwriting approach. All tracks are written by Tom as usual, recorded by Tim Boyle and Biff Dawes at Sunset Sound Studios in Hollywood, California. Has been kind of a pattern for him. And I guess, Trey, we can kick this thing off.
Let's do it, man. Well, we start off with Underground, which is under 2 minutes. A lot of these songs are short, you know, in that 2 to maybe 2.5 minutes.
They are. They're very short.
It's kind of sweet spot here. And coming in, we have the great Fred Tackett on guitar. That blends with some baritone horns to give a little uneasy feeling that will be explored further on Rain Dogs, because ironically enough, Rain Dogs was the first Waits record we ever heard.
Right, which is kind of weird. Yeah, the only one we'd heard before we rewound and started at closing time.
So you know, the Swordfish Trombones comes right before that album. So it was kind of cool throughout this record to see some of those seeds planted.
It was,
which would be further nurtured on the next record. So kind of had that uneasy feeling. I thought it was a solid tune.
Yeah, it was fine. You know, driving drums as well. I want to throw in there with the other instrumentation. I have no idea what it's about. He talks about gopher holes and everything. We got the underground vocals on this one are rough. Not rough like in a bad way. I mean like rough like Tom Waits rough.
That grittiness, you know.
But then there's such a dichotomy on vocals, you know, because now we go to Shore Leave, which tells a great story. He's almost speaking it, but he's very clear, very good on the vocals.
Yeah, again, going back to the Rain Dogs, almost a blend of like Singapore and clap hands, kind of meshing together in that regard.
And he's in the military on a 2-day shore leave, describes the things he does and encounters, then progresses to writing a letter, Trey, to his wife and how much he misses her.
He says, I wondered how the same moon outside over this Chinatown fair could look down on Illinois and find you there. You also have an incessant marimba, which gives a bit of a unique musical texture as well. So I thought this one was pretty tight.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And then we're going to revisit this letter written in Illinois, the song after this next one. We got an instrumental here. It's got a couple instrumentals. Dave the Butcher. It's over 2 minutes long. Organ in there. It's okay. I mean, I don't really know why it's here, but it's fine.
Yeah, if you're scared of the Hammond organ, beware. Okay, it fit the title, you know, the Butcher, you know, it kind of had a bit of a ominous type of flair coming in. And then quite the dichotomy that you were mentioned, Dad, because on this next song, only 1.5 minutes, but it proves that you don't have to make a long tune, because this is one of my favorites, Johnsburg, Illinois, which is just such a contrast, because it's kind of harkening back to those piano ballads.
It is.
Wonderful vocals by Tom on this.
Wrote it to his wife, Kathleen Brennan, who is from there. And yeah, his vocals on this, like if you listen to track 1 where he's just rough on the vocals, and then listen to this, he's crystal clear. Yeah, just a really well done tune. I wish it was a little longer than 1.5 minutes, but hey. And next up, we got 16 Shells from a 30-06.
Tom always coming in with those titles that are memorable.
It was released later on in 1988 as a single from a live album that he did, but he had said he started this lyric 6 years before. Basically, he said then he started about a farmer who was upset at a scarecrow and unloaded 16 shells from a from a 30-06, which is really impossible because there'd be nothing left of the Scarecrow after the first one. But that's Tom's quirky writing, man.
Yeah, and the spirit of the blues is definitely
here,
present. And once you kind of get behind the atmosphere, it's a wild ride.
It is.
He takes speaking of spirit, he takes the spirit of a prisoner and like a kind of puts it into his guitar, almost again kind of playing off some of those classic blues legends from
Robert Johnson action, baby.
So I thought that was cool, and he even gives a shout out to Dave the Butcher as well. So
he does straightforward lyrics, and just a good Tom performance overall. Now we'll go to a totally different sounding song, "Town with No Cheer." Tom was quoted as saying this was about, quote, a miserable old town in Australia who shut down their only bar. He'd read an article about it, hence all the references to Australia. Pretty good, good vocal. Interesting. I'm going to read this story and act like I've been there because he convinced me he'd been there. But a total difference musically from the previous track.
Oh, yeah, and it shows that no instruments off limits. We have that bagpipe intro. We have Tom himself playing the harmonium on this one. And, this is more kind of just middle of the road for me, just personally. But again, those unique musical atmospheres were tight. And that transitions, though, to, I think, one of Tom's best songs, not on this record, but just period up to this point,
man.
In the Neighborhood.
Yeah, it finishes out this side, which is really smart. It's Colin Larkin's 57th greatest song of all time on his top 100, and that actually is not a juiced rating. It's an excellent song. It was released as a single. Takes us through a journey and snapshot look at all things going on in a neighborhood, from noise to funerals one day and weddings the next. Great horns and drums, Trey. Great story, pretty clear vocal, and it harkens me back to even Closing Time, the closing track of Closing, where he's going around the city at 3 o'clock. And, it's observational songwriting that he does so well.
Fantastic point, Dad, and I think is just so relatable because it details those highs and lows that happen in kind of any neighborhood, and maybe not so much anymore in our modern context where you don't know your neighbors as much as maybe you used to, or at the time when Waits wrote this. But I think that relatability and just gives it a sense of timelessness, and you cap it off with a really strong melody and a great vocal performance. And you got one of Waits' best, and that we start off kind of uniquely, side 2, with an instrumental, which
is weird.
Isn't done obviously that often. You got Just Another Sucker on the Vine, under 2 minutes, and it was fine for what it was.
Yeah, it's fine for what it was. Once again, some organ play and stuff, and once again, it's fine for what it is. I don't know why it's here, and I don't know why they decided to start off side 2 with it, but whatever. And this brings us to one of my favorite tracks on the whole album, Frank's Wild Years. It's going to inspire the name of an album that we'll be doing next month, even though Rain Dogs is next, because we've already reviewed Rain Dogs, so you can already go check that out after this one. Quite the story. He gets drunk, got himself a gallon of gas, then he goes home and torches his house, apparently with his wife and his chihuahua in there.
Yeah, this is hilarious and disturbing all at once.
Man. It is Tom Waits in a nutshell. Almost a spoken word.
I wrote that exact same thing down.
Maybe we got an organ. And I wrote, for Tom, this is totally normal.
Oh, yeah. You have lines like, his wife was a spent piece of used jet trash, kept her mouth shut most of the time, and I think it's summed up best in the final line, never could stand that dog. You mentioned in the Chihuahua going down in flames. This man snapped and was pushed over the edge, that's for sure. And we go from Frank's Wild Years
to Swordfish Trombone. This one has quite the story, Trey. Great songwriting. He is in Oklahoma, apparently has PTSD. I guess he hooks up with an underage girl, sentenced to 20 years. In prison. So
it was again just so authentically Tom about this bad boy military guy who makes these mistakes, and yet through his misdeeds his legend lives on, if he even existed at all. I know there's some interpretations like this guy was just kind of a legend in itself. And musically interesting as well. We got the marimba is especially prominent in the Congos, and
great percussion on this one.
So this one was pretty tight, man. And then we go to Down, 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 and switch musically quite a bit with a fast tempo.
He gets after it. I put rollicking. This is
great word.
Something that I really hadn't heard from Tom quite like this, just in the delivery in the song. This shows you how different he can be. And I think the lyrics you can interpret it is he's talking about a boy and all the stuff he did to to go down to hell. He's going down, down, down.
Which, is interesting. It has some faint kind of blues inspiration as well, which, what happens in the blues? You get a lot of talk of hell, the devil, this or that. So I think that fit well with his, smooth talking, fast rolling delivery for sure, man. And then we go to Soldiers Things, which is one of my favorites on the record.
And quite a change musically.
Oh, yeah. We strip way back. Go with that piano.
Chilled vocals.
And there's just a pervasive sadness with that piano and the lyrical content that notes this soldier is selling his things in a yard sale, or heck, he might have even died and it's an estate sale. Got the line, this one is for bravery and this one is for me, and everything's $1 in this box. So just a really strong tune all the way around.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot. Now we're going to go to Gin-Soaked Boy. And man, he was in prison, Trey. He got out, found out his woman cheated on him. It almost has a country vibe, which by that description, you could kind of plug in some country, especially with the guitar. So just such wildly changing diversity on instrumentation from song to song here on this second side.
No, I'm glad you brought up the guitar, because I noted in my notes that Tackett was on fire here again on that lead guitar, and the alcohol's flowing just from that title into the lyricism, and it just again has that, for lack of a better term, just that cool factor that so much of Tom's music does. And I thought it continued the string of solid tracks that we've had here. And man, we only got a couple left. We got Trouble's Braids, which is one of the shorter tracks on here.
1:18 seconds is all. He seems to be out in the wild and in some trouble, Trey. Got stung, built a fire in an old car. It's a spoken word, basically, with a strong, upright bass, which is what Tom likes to use on a lot of his spoken word type songs.
Yeah, exactly. Just reminisces to those earlier records. You got almost like that beat poetry, and yet instead of that piano, which was prevalent on a lot of that early work, as you mentioned, we get that double bass up in here, and it's the last track with lyrics on here, because we finish with Rainbirds, which is an instrumental. So starting and ending the second side with instrumentals.
Yeah, and this one's different compared to the other two instruments. Piano, very chilled, kind of an ambiance just playing us out. So I did like that. I mean, I don't know if it needed to be there, but I do see kind of a little bit of the validity in doing that, Trey. So now we're up to our favorites. I got In the Neighborhood and Frank's Wild Years. I could have chose quite a few in there, but that's what I went with. What do you got?
Yeah, I got Johnsburg, Illinois. I'm gonna go Soldiers Things. I'm gonna go In the Neighborhood, of course, and throw a little love to the title track, Swordfish Trombones,
I see all those as well.
And that's gonna take us now to our overall score.
It is, and this lived up to the hype for me. I mean, it's not Rain Dogs, but it's on its way. As you pointed, he was starting to cultivate into what Rain Dogs was going to be. For me, there's really not anything on here that I disliked. Like I said, the instrumentals are fine. I mean, I don't really know why they're here, but they might be here to lengthen the record a little bit, because even though we got 15 tracks, we got a bunch of short songs on here. So for me, Trey, I'm going to be a very, very solid 8.0.
Dude, well, you're stealing my lines, man, because I'm right at an 8.0 myself. As you said, Dad, not a track on here I disliked. Maybe I'm not going to be spinning some of these outside of the context of the record, but it goes to show how strong Tom is at cultivating an album listening experience.
Agreed. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Sit down, strap in for 40 minutes or however long that particular album's going to be, and Tom's going to take you on that.
You're not going to get bored.
Right? Yeah, exactly. He's going to vary things up, keep you hooked in, not having you, resting. He's going to make sure that he keeps that listener engaged and rewards their time, even if maybe not everything's going to hit for everybody. Man, I just thought that this was a great foundation leading up to Rain Dogs.
Agreed. And just a reminder, guys, we are, if you're watching this, close to when we put this up, Rain Dogs is already up. We did it, a year plus ago?
Yeah,
by
a while.
So go check that one out, because we'll continue our journey next month with Frank's Wild Years. Looking forward to that. Thank you, Josh, as always. Everybody, let us know what you think below about this album and where it fits in his discography in your ranking.
100%. Thank you to Josh again for suggesting this record, man. Always fun to dive into the wild world of Tom Waits, man. The WWW, the wild world Waits. Say that 10 times fast.
I'll let you do that.
Anyways, Dad, always appreciate the research and time you put into that. And appreciate y'all for watching. Be sure to hit that big big red subscribe button if you liked what you saw today. And if you'd like to have us review something or do a song reaction, you can also check out our Patreon page, link down below. But that's going to wrap it up from us today. And until next time, thanks for watching, y'all. Happy listening, and we'll see you next time.